Your new life will cost your old one. That's the deal. It's not a nice idea, it's a hard truth, and most people run from it. But if you want real change, this is where it starts. You can't become a stronger, more focused, more stable version of yourself while holding on to the things that kept you weak, distracted, and stuck. You'll have to walk away from some people. You'll have to break some habits. You'll have to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It's not easy, but it's real. That's why most don't do it. They want results without sacrifice. But here's the shift. The moment you stop trying to improve while keeping everything the same, that's the moment your life starts to change. This isn't for everyone, but if you're ready, press play and start letting go of what no longer belongs. Chapter 1. Leave behind anything that no longer feels right. You know, one of the hardest decisions a person ever makes is the decision to walk away from what no longer feels right. But that's exactly where your new life begins. Not when things are perfect, not when everything lines up. It begins the moment you say, "I can't carry this anymore." Because you can't keep living the same way and expect something different to show up. You've got to draw a line. You've got to stop lying to yourself just to keep things stable. There comes a point where your body knows, your heart knows, your mind knows it's time to move forward. But the question is, do you listen or do you keep holding on just because it's familiar? Too many people stay stuck because they think change has to be convenient. But change is not about convenience, it's about truth. And the truth is, anything in your life that no longer feels right is costing you something. Your time, your energy, your peace. If something feels off, it usually is that job you dread getting up for, that friend who always drains your energy, that routine that no longer challenges you, that version of yourself who plays small. At some point, you've got to stop trying to make it all fit. You've got to stop pretending it's fine when it's not. Your new life won't begin until you start clearing space for it. And clearing space means letting go. Now, I'm not talking about giving up. I'm talking about growing up. There's a difference. See, growing up means making harder choices. It means realizing that not everything can go with you to the next level. Some things were only meant for a season, not a lifetime. Some people, some habits, even some dreams, they served a purpose. But now they're in the way. And I'll tell you this, if you don't make those decisions now, you'll carry regret later. Because what doesn't feel right today only grows heavier with time. What drains you now will eventually break you down if you don't act. That's not fear. That's reality. The longer you hold on to what you've outgrown, the more it pulls you back. The longer you keep doing something that no longer aligns with who you are, the harder it becomes to recognize who you could be. You've got to ask yourself, what are you holding on to out of habit? What are you tolerating just because it's always been there? Comfort can become a trap. Familiarity can become a prison. Some people live the same year over and over again, hoping something will change. But nothing changes until you do. And change doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. But it's worth it. Start small. Look at your day. Look at your environment. Look at the things you say yes to. Do they feel right? Do they move you forward? Do they challenge you to become better? Or are they just keeping you busy, keeping you tired, keeping you average? You don't have to wait for a big disaster to make a change. You don't have to wait until it hurts so bad you can't breathe. If it doesn't feel right now, that's enough. Trust that. Listen to that. Your emotions are data. They're not random. They're telling you something. When you feel drained, anxious, restless, frustrated, those are not things to push away. They're signals that something in your life is not aligned, that something needs to be addressed. Some people keep pushing through things they hate just because they think that's what strength is. That's not strength. That's survival. You weren't meant to survive your life. You were meant to build it. Strength is making the decision to walk away from what no longer serves you, even when it's hard. Strength is being honest with yourself when something isn't working. I've seen it too many times. People who stay in relationships they've outgrown. People who stay in jobs that drain them. People who keep routines that no longer support their growth. All because it's easier to stay than to start again. But staying stuck is not easier. It just feels safer in the short term. In the long term, it costs you everything. You deserve a life that feels right, not one that just looks right to others, not one that keeps everyone else happy while you feel empty. You deserve to wake up with energy. You deserve to be surrounded by people who respect your growth. You deserve to spend your time doing something that means something to you. And that doesn't happen by default. You have to create it. That means saying no more often. No to the distractions. No to the people who don't believe in you. No to the habits that steal your time. No to the version of yourself that gave up too easily. That's what leaving behind your old life looks like. It's not about destroying everything. It's about choosing what deserves to stay. People might not understand. Some might get upset. Some might try to talk you out of it. But they're not living your life. They're not feeling what you feel. You are the one who has to live with your decisions. You are the one who has to carry the weight of staying stuck or the strength of starting again. And starting again doesn't mean you failed. It means you grew. It means you listened to that voice inside that said, "This isn't who I want to be anymore." That voice is powerful. Don't silence it. That voice is the beginning of something new. It's not going to be easy. Nothing worthwhile is. You're going to have days where you second-guess yourself. You're going to miss the old routines. You're going to feel like going back. But keep going. Keep showing up for the person you're becoming. Keep reminding yourself why you started. The old life didn't feel right for a reason. You were meant for more. You were meant to evolve. And growth means change. Growth means losing things. But what you gain is far more valuable. You gain clarity. You gain energy. You gain peace. You gain self-respect. And that's what your new life is built on. Not comfort, not approval, not what others think is right for you. It's built on your truth, on your standards, on your stand, on your values, on your willingness to let go of what no longer fits. Every decision matters. Every small action counts. Every time you choose alignment over attachment, you move closer to the life you deserve. You want a new life, then you've got to be willing to let the old one go completely, without apology, without guilt, without hesitation. Because the only way forward is through honesty. The only way to grow is to shed the layers that no longer fit. The only way to become who you were meant to be is to leave behind who you no longer are. And that right there is the cost. But it's also the reward. A life that feels like yours, a mind that's clear, a heart that's full, and a future that finally makes sense. So, if it no longer feels right, don't hold on. Don't justify it. Don't shrink to fit it. Walk away, move forward, and never settle again. Your new life is waiting. But first, your old one has to go. Choose your peace, even if they hate it. There will come a time in your life when your peace will cost you something. Not money, not material things. It will cost you the approval of others. It will cost you being liked by people who don't understand your journey. And you have to be okay with that, because peace is not a gift from the outside. It's something you build on the inside. And once you start to value it, you will stop begging people to understand you. You'll stop explaining your decisions to those who only want you to stay where you were. You'll stop sacrificing your mental and emotional health just to keep others comfortable. Most people don't realize this early in life. They think peace is found in acceptance, in popularity, in making others happy. But that path only leads to burnout, to frustration, to a version of yourself that feels fake. Every time you look in the mirror, you start saying yes when you mean no. You go places you don't want to go. You keep quiet when your heart wants to speak, all to maintain relationships or situations that don't feed your spirit. But peace doesn't live in that place. Peace lives in honesty. Peace lives in boundaries. Peace lives in the decision to protect your mind, your time, your emotional space, no matter who doesn't agree. That's the shift. That's when everything starts to change. When you stop making decisions based on how others feel and start choosing what keeps you stable, calm, and clear. Not selfish, just responsible. Because if you don't protect your peace, no one else will. Some people won't like this version of you. The one who speaks up, the one who walks away from drama, the one who says no without guilt. And it's not your job to make them comfortable with your growth. It's your job to make sure you're not shrinking yourself to keep them close. Every time you choose peace, you're also choosing maturity. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing strength. And yes, it will feel lonely at times. Yes, you'll miss being liked. But one day, you'll wake up and realize you finally feel like yourself again. That's what this is really about. Getting back to you. Not the version they expected. Not the version you performed just to keep the peace. But the version that breathes deeply. That doesn't feel pressured. That doesn't feel like they're walking on eggshells just to avoid conflict. That version is worth protecting. That version deserves space. When you choose peace, people will test you. They'll call you difficult. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of thinking you're better than them. But don't lose focus. You didn't change to impress anyone. You changed because living in chaos was killing your joy. You changed because carrying everyone's expectations was crushing your energy. You changed because peace started mattering more than approval. You have to understand this clearly. Peace is not passive. It's not sitting in a room meditating while everything falls apart. Peace is active. It's a decision. It's doing the work to remove what keeps your mind spinning. It's ending toxic conversations. It's walking away from people who only show up when they need something. It's saying no to patterns that drain you. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes it feels harsh. Sometimes it looks like silence. But the result is a life that finally feels like your own. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe them constant access. You don't owe them your energy just because they've been around for years. Relationships are meant to grow. And if someone doesn't respect your need for peace, that's not love. That's control. And peace can't exist where control lives. Peace needs space. Peace needs freedom. Peace needs you to stop carrying things that don't belong to you. You have the right to leave the room when it turns into a battlefield. You have the right to say, "This conversation is not healthy for me." You have the right to log off, turn your phone off, and take care of your mental space. And you don't need to apologize for that. You don't need to explain it. Protecting your peace is your responsibility, not their privilege. The truth is, the more you grow, the more you realize how loud the world is. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has demands. Everyone wants something from you. But very few ask how you feel. Very few want to know what you need. You cannot keep sacrificing yourself on the altar of being liked. You can't keep betraying your own peace just to avoid disappointing someone else. Growth feels like losing things, but it's really gaining clarity. You start seeing who drains you and who refuels you. You start noticing which habits keep you stuck and which ones move you forward. You start hearing the difference between noise and guidance. That's peace doing its work. It creates distance so you can think clearly. It creates silence so you can hear your own voice again. It might hurt at first, especially when you start saying no to people you once said yes to all the time. They'll be confused, they'll push back. But that discomfort is temporary. What comes after is a deep sense of self-respect. You'll realize you're no longer bending in every direction just to be accepted. You're no longer agreeing with things that don't sit right with your soul. And when you live in that space where your choices come from clarity, not pressure, you become powerful. Not loud, not aggressive, just powerful. The kind of power that doesn't need validation. The kind of power that chooses silence over arguing. The kind of power that doesn't react to everything. Because peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the ability to stay grounded in the middle of it. You will be misunderstood. That's part of it. People will think you're cold or distant. But the truth is, you're focused. You're intentional. You're not wasting energy on things that don't grow you. That's not a weakness. That's strength. Real peace gives you energy back. You sleep better. You think clearer. You stop rushing. You stop pretending. You show up more fully. You laugh more. You breathe deeper. That's the reward. That's what you're fighting for. A life that feels real. A life that feels steady. You can't buy that feeling. You can't fake it. It only comes when you choose to stand in your truth and stop adjusting yourself to meet people where they refuse to grow. That's the trade. You give up approval, you give up comfort, but you gain peace. And once you feel it, you won't give it up for anything. Not everyone will understand. But you don't need them to. You just need to keep choosing what protects your well-being. You need to stay committed to your growth. Even when it's quiet. Even when it's lonely. Even when it feels like no one sees what you're doing. Peace isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just waking up and feeling okay for the first time in years. Sometimes it's closing the door and feeling safe in your own space. Sometimes it's not reacting, not explaining, just being. You don't owe the world your constant access. You don't have to answer every message. You don't have to attend every gathering. You don't have to stay connected to what no longer fits. When something threatens your peace, you have a choice. And you don't need permission to make it. This is your life. You get one shot at it. Don't spend it pleasing people who don't care about your peace. Don't spend it proving yourself to those who would never do the same for you. Don't spend it in rooms where your spirit feels small. Protect your energy. Protect your focus. Protect your progress. Because when you finally start choosing peace, everything starts making sense. Everything feels lighter. You stop fighting battles that were never yours. You stop chasing people who don't see your value. You stop rushing to prove something and start building something that actually matters. And that's the shift. That's when your life starts changing. Not when everyone agrees. Not when everyone supports you. But when you make the quiet, clear decision to choose your peace. Even if they hate it. Especially if they hate it. Because that means you've finally chosen you. Chapter 3. Change your routine before it ruins your future. Look at your life right now and be honest with yourself. How you live each day is what's shaping everything that comes next. Not what you say you'll do one day, not the goals you write down, but never follow through. It's what you're doing today, right now, this hour. Your routine is either moving you forward or silently pulling you further away from the life you say you want. That's the truth people don't like to face. They say they want success, change, freedom, clarity, but then they wake up, scroll their phone for an hour, skip what matters, repeat the same habits, and expect a different result. You don't get a better future by chance. You build it with your choices. And your routine is the foundation of everything. If your routine lacks direction, don't be surprised when your life feels stuck. If your routine is built around comfort and distraction, don't expect growth or clarity. You can't blame your circumstances if you keep choosing the same patterns that created them. And if you know deep down your routine isn't working for you, Don't wait until it becomes a crisis to change it. Don't wait until you feel completely lost to realize the problem started with the little things you kept repeating. Most people don't realize their daily habits are destroying their potential. They think it's the big things that matter most. But it's not. It's not about making one huge move. It's about how you show up day after day. It's what time you get out of bed. It's how much energy you give to your growth. It's how often you avoid what needs to be done. It's how long you entertain things that don't serve you. All of that stacks up. A routine that lacks discipline slowly becomes a lifestyle of regret. It's easy to say you want a better future. It's hard to change your habits. But if your days stay the same, your future will too. You don't get to keep hitting snooze on your life and expect success to show up. That's not how this works. You have to take ownership. You have to get serious, not dramatic serious. That means looking at every part of your routine and asking yourself, is this helping me or holding me back? And you have to answer honestly, not emotionally, not with excuses, not with, I'm just too busy, or this is just how I am. Because deep down, you know what needs change. You know which habits are wasting your time. You know which parts of your day drain you. You know when you're being lazy. You know when you're playing small. And if you don't stop it now, you'll keep paying the price later. Change isn't about perfection. It's about progress. You don't have to flip your life upside down in one day. But you do need to interrupt the pattern. You need to stop accepting routines that make you feel weak, distracted, unmotivated, and disconnected from what you truly want. There's no rule that says you have to keep doing things the way you've always done them. If your current routine doesn't reflect your values or your goals, it's your responsibility to build one that does. And here's the truth. Changing your routine isn't always exciting. It's not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's uncomfortable. It means choosing actions that feel hard over distractions that feel easy. It means waking up earlier than you want to. It means turning off the noise and focusing. It means saying no to things that waste your time. But that's the price. You don't become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by choosing structure. When your mind wants freedom, you choose purpose over pleasure. You choose improvement over excuses. Nobody is coming to fix your routine for you. Nobody is going to show up and make you do the hard things. That's on you. And the longer you delay, the more your potential slips away. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes another year lost to distractions, wasted time, and habits that slowly eat away at your ambition. If you don't take control of your routine, it will control you. You have to start caring about how you spend your time. You have to protect your mornings. You have to create structure that forces you to grow. That means scheduling things that matter. That means cutting out what's unnecessary. That means being intentional about how you use your energy. Your routine should reflect who you want to become, not who you used to be. And if it doesn't, change it. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if no one else understands, you're not living for their approval. You're living for your growth. And growth requires change. If your old routine is keeping you tired, uninspired, and behind, then it's your responsibility to build a better one. Because your future depends on what you do today, not what you say, not what you hope, what you do day in and day out. It's not enough to talk about goals. You need habits that back them up. You need structure that supports your progress. You need to remove the noise. You need to eliminate the waste. That's where confidence comes from, not from motivational quotes, not from short-term high. Confidence comes from doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Confidence grows when your routine becomes stronger than your emotions. So, take a look at your current routine. Is it helping you become more focused or more distracted? Is it making you stronger or weaker? Are your daily actions building momentum or killing it? Are you moving forward or just staying busy? If you don't like the answers, do something about it. You're allowed to rebuild. You're allowed to start again. You're allowed to take your life seriously today. Stop telling yourself you'll start next week. That's what most people do, and that's why most people stay stuck. Don't be like them. Be different. Be the one who changes. Be the one who takes full responsibility for how each day is spent. Be the one who chooses a new path when the old one isn't working. That's how you change your future, one honest decision at a time. Build a routine that challenges you. Build a routine that makes you proud. Build a routine that serves your goals and protect it. Make it your standard, not just something you try for a few days, but something you live by. Even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because one day, your future self is going to look back, and they're going to thank you, not for what you dreamed of, not for what you want, but for what you did daily when it was uncomfortable, for the structure you built, for the actions you took, for the habits you committed to. That's what changes everything. That's what builds a new life. And if you're not willing to change your routine now, don't be surprised when your future looks a lot like your past. Because nothing around you will improve until something within you does. And nothing within you changes unless you take charge of what you repeat every single day. You don't need motivation. You need discipline. You need structure. You need intention. And it starts by looking at your routine, not as a boring list of tasks, but as the steering wheel of your life. You want to change your direction. Grab the wheel. Don't let your day control you. Take control of your day. From the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, everything you do matters. The little things build the big picture. The boring steps build the big win. So stop waiting for a perfect moment. The moment is now. The day is today. And your routine is your most powerful tool. Use it wisely, or it will use Chapter 4. Say goodbye to people who drain your energy. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is because they surround themselves with the wrong people and refuse to change that. It's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, but it's necessary. If you want to build a better life, you cannot keep giving your time and energy to people who constantly pull you backward. There are people in your life right now who are not helping you grow. They're not adding anything meaningful. They're not making you feel stronger, more focused, or more alive. They just take, they complain, they judge, they doubt. And the longer you keep them around, the more damage they do to your focus, your peace, and your momentum. You are not responsible for fixing people who choose to stay broken. You are not required to stay in conversations that drain your spirit. You are not obligated to keep showing up for people who never show up for you. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your space. You are allowed to outgrow relationships that no longer support the person you're becoming. That's not being cruel. That's being clear. Clear about your standards. Clear about your direction. Clear about what you will and will not accept. Energy is not unlimited. You don't get it back once it's wasted. And every time you spend it on people who refuse to grow, you lose time that could have gone toward building something that actually matters. Think about how many days, how many hours, how many conversations you've lost just trying to keep someone in your life who makes you feel heavy. Someone who always sees the problem but never the solution. Someone who questions your ambition because they gave up on theirs. Someone who expects your support but never gives anything in return. You don't owe people your energy just because they've been around a long time. Time doesn't equal value. Some people come into your life for a season, not a lifetime, and the season is over. You can't grow while staying emotionally connected to people who want to keep everything the same. Some relationships are built on your old mindset. The one that tolerated too much, said too little, and settled for less. And once you shift, once you start demanding more from yourself, those connections start to break. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself too. People who drain you often disguise it as love. They'll guilt you. They'll make you feel bad for setting boundaries. They'll say you've changed, and they'll say it like it's a bad thing. But changing is exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not meant to stay stuck in the same patterns forever. And if someone truly cared, they'd grow with you, not punish you for growing on your own. Pay attention to how you feel around certain people. After you talk to them, do you feel inspired? Do you feel calm? Do you feel supported? Or do you feel anxious, tired, confused, or small? That's not just a feeling. That's a signal. Your mind and body are telling you the truth that your heart doesn't want to hear. Some connections are costing you more than you can afford, and it's time to stop pretending you're okay with it. Letting go doesn't mean hate. It means acceptance. It means accepting that not everyone is meant to be part of your next chapter. It means recognizing when the connection is more draining than it is empowering. You're not walking away out of anger. You're walking away out of clarity. You've got goals now. You've got direction now. You've got a mindset that doesn't align with negativity anymore. And that's not selfish. That's growth. Don't let your loyalty keep you in places where your peace is always being disturbed. Don't let guilt tie you to people who no longer respect your time or value your presence. You have every right to choose who gets access to your energy. And when you make that choice, your life begins to change. You feel lighter. You feel focused. You feel like you can finally hear yourself think again. That's what happens when you stop surrounding yourself with chaos. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Stop arguing. Stop explaining. Stop trying to convince someone to understand your path when they've never taken a single step in your direction. Let silence speak. Let distance protect you. Let peace guide you. The people who truly care about you won't drain you. They won't question your every move. They won't get threatened by your progress. They'll support it. They'll clap for you even when they don't understand your full vision. They'll respect your space. They'll give when you need. They'll listen when you speak. And they'll never make you feel like you have to earn their presence. But to find those people, you have to clear out the ones who block that space. You can't attract support while staying surrounded by judgment. You can't create peace while entertaining chaos. You can't focus on growth when your energy is constantly being pulled into drama, gossip, and negativity. That environment is killing your momentum, and you know it. Look at your circle. Look at who you text back first. Look at who you answer when you're tired. Look at who expects from you, but never checks on you. Now ask yourself, is this the environment I would choose if I had the option to start over today? Because you do. Every single day, you have the power to choose what stays and what goes. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need to stop lying to yourself. Stop saying it's fine when it's not. Stop saying you can handle it when you're clearly drained. Stop saying they'll change when their actions keep showing you otherwise. Stop staying for potential and start moving for peace. You're not a bad person for walking away from people who make you feel less. You're a smart one, a strong one, a self-respecting one. And yes, it's hard. Especially when emotions are involved, especially when history is involved. But history means nothing if the present is constantly hurting you. Some people were right for who you were, not who you are now. And keeping them around just because of memories is like drinking poison just because the glass looks nice. You deserve more than that. Build a new environment, one that challenges you, one that respects your boundary, one that values your time, one that makes you feel like you belong without having to shrink. You can't build that if you're still stuck in conversations that leave you feeling small. You can't build that while trying to prove your worth to people who've never seen it. You have to create space, real space, mental space, emotional space, time, energy. And you do that by saying goodbye. You don't have to make a scene. You don't need a dramatic exit. You just stop feeding the connection. You stop showing up when it's convenient for them. You stop answering calls that leave you stressed. You stop making excuses for behavior that keeps hurting you. You stop making peace with what steals your peace. Eventually, you realize your life only moves forward when your energy is no longer being spent managing dysfunction. You can't keep fixing things that were never your job to fix. You can't keep being the strong one for people who won't even lift a finger for you. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment. And it ends when you decide it ends. You're not here to carry people. You're here to walk your path. And the right people will walk beside you, not on your back. So stop wasting your potential trying to rescue those who refuse to rescue themselves. You are not responsible for their choices. You are not responsible for their healing. You are responsible for your life, for your future, for your mental well-being. And if someone doesn't respect that, they don't deserve to stay close. So say goodbye. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop letting them drain you. And when you do, when you finally create that space, you'll realize how much lighter life can be when you stop carrying people who were never meant to go where you're headed. Chapter 5. Take full control of how you live daily. The moment your life starts to change is the moment you stop living by accident and start living with full control. Not partial control. Not when it's easy. Not when everything goes your way, but every single day. That's when you start building a life that looks like you, feels like you, and works for you. Most people wake up and let the day happen to them. They get up late. They check their phone before they check their goals. They react to problems instead of following a plan. And before they even realize it, another day is gone. Not lived, just passed through. Not created, just survived. That's not living with control. That's letting your time slip away while calling it life. To take full control, you have to stop blaming what's around you and start looking at what you're doing with what you have. Maybe you didn't choose where you started, but you're fully responsible for where you go from here. Every single day is a chance to lead your life instead of being pushed around by it. That begins with how you think, how you speak, how you move, how you spend your time, and how you choose your priorities. No more going through the day without direction. No more waiting for motivation to show up. No more hoping things just work out. You take control by making decisions and following through on them, even when it's uncomfortable. Taking control means deciding how your morning starts. It means putting structure around your goal. It means knowing what matters most and cutting out what doesn't. When you leave your life open to whatever comes your way, you let stress take over. You let distractions decide how your day will go. And little by little, you begin to feel like everything is out of your hands. That feeling of losing control starts when you stop choosing and start reacting. You need to flip that. You need to design your day like it matters because it does. Nobody can do this part for you. You can read every book, watch every video, and still feel stuck if you don't take full ownership of your time. Ask yourself right now, how much of your day is being driven by your decisions versus outside pressure? How often are you doing what's good for you versus what feels easy? If you're not happy with the answers, it's time to build a new system. Not a perfect one, not a complicated one. A system that helps you stay on track, that reminds you of who you're becoming, and that keeps you focused on what really matters. Control doesn't mean every day is flawless. It doesn't mean nothing ever goes wrong. It means you're not giving away your focus to every little thing that shows up uninvited. You're not abandoning your goals every time something inconvenient happens. You're not waiting on someone else to give you permission to live the way you want to. You are in charge of what gets your time, your energy, your attention, and your commitment. That's what it means to live with control. You need to have standards for your day, standards for what you do, standards for what you allow, standards for how you treat yourself. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's about making progress even when no one's clapping for you. It's about knowing that discipline isn't punishment. It's power. It's freedom. It's the key to feeling proud of how you live. Without control, life starts to feel random. You feel scattered. You chase everything and accomplish nothing. You're busy, but not productive. You're exhausted, but not fulfilled. And deep down, you know it. You can feel the tension of living out of sync with what you really want. You can feel the weight of time slipping by with nothing meaningful to show for it. But the good news is this. Change doesn't need to wait for some special moment. It begins the day you decide that how you live today matters more than how you lived yesterday. You don't need a complete life overhaul. You need clear choices. You need better habits. You need stronger boundaries. You need to wake up and remind yourself that nobody is more responsible for your future than you. That means you decide how your time is used. You decide who you spend it with. You decide what gets your attention. And if something doesn't serve your purpose, you don't let it in. Taking control also means holding yourself accountable. No more excuses. No more blaming the past. No more saying, "I'll start later." You've got to be honest about where your time is going. Track it. Face it. Fix it. Because until you take control of your daily actions, you'll keep wondering why life feels off. It's not the big things that are breaking your progress. It's the small choices you're making every day without thinking. Every hour you waste doing something that doesn't align with your goals is an hour you don't get back. That doesn't mean you can't rest. It means your rest should be intentional, not accidental. It means your time should have purpose, even when it's quiet. You deserve to feel like your day meant something, and the only way to do that is to be in charge of it. This doesn't mean you become a machine. It means you become a leader of yourself, of your mindset, of your actions. And when you live that way, you start seeing results. You start building momentum. You start feeling that quiet confidence that comes from being consistent, not perfect consistent. That's where the shift happens. Nobody gets stronger by accident. Nobody builds anything meaningful by leaving it to chance. The people who change their lives are the ones who take control of how they live hour by hour, day by day. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They don't rely on emotions to make decisions. They show up with intention. They lead themselves before they expect anything from the world. That's what sets them apart. That's what gives them the edge. If you want more from life, you have to give more to your day. Give more effort. Give more focus. Give more discipline. Give more honesty about where you're slipping, and then correct it. Because real growth doesn't happen in your dreams. It happens in your actions. It happens when you stop living on autopilot and start driving your life like it matters, like every day counts. Because it does. Look around and ask yourself, is the way you're living right now taking you where you want to go? If the answer is no, then it's time to change how you live daily, not eventually, not gradually. Now, your time is too valuable to waste on things that don't move you forward. Your energy is too precious to spend on things that break your focus. Your mind is too powerful to fill it with junk. You can't afford to live carelessly anymore. Set your plan. Stick to your schedule. Review your progress. Make adjustments. Eliminate what slows you down. Respect your time like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. And treat every day like it's a chance to get better, because it is. That's how you stay in control. That's how you live with power. That's how you move forward with purpose. There's no shortcut. There's no secret formula. The truth is simple but hard. You must take full control of how you live daily, not just when you feel inspired, not just when everything is going well, but especially when it's hard, especially when no one is watching. That's what defines who you become. And if you can commit to that, if you can look at each day as a chance to prove to yourself that you're serious, then everything begins to shift. You'll feel it in how you speak. You'll see it in how you walk. You'll notice it in your progress, because the person who takes control of their day is the person who takes control of their life, and that's the person who wins, not by luck, but by choice. Daily, repeated, done with purpose, done with power and done with clarity. You have that power right now. Use it. Chapter 6. Do the hard things your old self avoided. There's a reason your old life never gave you what you truly wanted. It's because you kept walking away from the hard things. You avoided the conversations that made you uncomfortable. You skipped the habits that required consistency. You put off the goals that demanded more effort than you were willing to give. And that version of you, the one that took shortcuts, delayed decisions, and made excuses, cannot come with you into the life you're trying to build now. If you want real change, you have to start doing the hard things your old self always ran from. Change doesn't show up in the form of motivation. It shows up in moments where you're tired, uncertain, and uncomfortable, and still choose to do what's necessary. That's the difference between staying where you are and moving into something greater. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. It's about courage. It's about taking action when you least feel like it. The life you want is on the other side of the work your past self never finished, and you know exactly what that work is. You've always known. You just didn't want to face it. The hard things are not always big or dramatic. Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes they happen in the smallest choices. Getting up when your mind says, stay in bed. Saying no when everyone around you says yes. Telling the truth when it would be easier to stay silent. Making a plan and sticking to it even when no one else believes in you. These are the hard things that separate the person who talks about growth from the person who actually grows. Your old self wanted comfort more than progress. It wanted to feel safe, not challenged. That's why it avoided pressure. That's why it skipped opportunities that required too much effort. That's why it stayed in routines that didn't stretch you. But now you're waking up. Now you're starting to see the cost of those choices. You're starting to feel the pain of being stuck. And that pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to wake you up. You can't keep asking for a new life while living like the old version of yourself. The old version made decisions based on fear. It avoided failure by avoiding the effort. It chose distractions over discipline. It focused on short-term comfort instead of long-term reward. And if you're serious about building something better, you have to start doing the things that version of you refused to do. It won't feel easy. That's why it matters. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to want to quit. Your mind will try to convince you that the old way was fine. That's how you know you're in the right place. Growth doesn't come from repeating what's easy. It comes from stepping into what's difficult and staying there long enough to change who you are. It comes from not giving up when it hurt. It comes from standing in the middle of something your old self would have avoided and choosing to keep going anyway. The hard things are where character is built. They're where habits are tested. They're where your mindset either breaks or gets stronger. When you do what's hard, you start to see what you're really capable of. Not the version of you that talks about potential, the one that shows up and proves it. That's the version of you the world needs. That's the version of you who gets results. It's not about proving anything to other. It's about finally proving something to yourself. Proving that you're done playing small. Proving that you're done playing small. Proving that you won't run anymore. That every time it gets hard, you won't hide like before. You'll face it, you'll deal with, You'll push through it, not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. There's no shortcut to growth. You have to earn it. And you earn it by doing the things that challenge you. You earn it by showing up every day without excuses. You earn it by taking full responsibility for your effort, your focus, and your choices. And every time you do that, you take another step away from the person you used to be. You take another step toward the person you were meant to become. You already know what the hard things are in your life. They're the ones you avoid thinking about. The ones you say you'll handle later. The ones you hope will just disappear if you stay busy enough. But they're not going away. They're waiting for you. And the longer you avoid them, the more power they gain. The longer you wait, the heavier they feel. But once you face them, once you commit to doing what your old self couldn't, something shifts. You start to build trust with yourself. You start to feel proud again. You stop making excuses because you're too busy making progress. Nobody is going to do the work for you. Nobody is coming to carry you through the struggle. You've got to show up and do it yourself. That's where the reward is. That's where the change happens. Not in comfort, not in avoiding the hard things, but in doing them day after day until they no longer control you. You want freedom. You want clarity. You want purpose. It's on the other side of the things you've been putting off. There's something powerful about knowing you did the thing you didn't want to do. It builds a kind of strength that doesn't come from outside praise. It comes from within. You look in the mirror and know that you've earned your progress. You've earned your discipline. You've earned your peace because you did the hard thing. And once you do that enough, you become the kind of person who no longer backs down. The kind of person who takes challenges personally and sees them as a sign that growth is happening. Think about what your life would look like if you started doing the hard things every single day. Think about how much would change. Think about the confidence you'd build, the momentum you'd feel, the results you'd finally see. It's not impossible. It's just uncomfortable. But you've lived through discomfort before. You've struggled through things that didn't serve you. Now it's time to struggle for something that does. You can't keep living under the weight of things you never finish. You can't keep making promises to yourself and breaking them every time it gets hard. That version of you, your old self, had enough chances. Now it's time for the new one to take over. The version of you that doesn't flinch when things get difficult. The one that leans in when the pressure rises. The one that chooses action when fear says, "Wait, that's who you need to be now." That's the version that builds the life you actually want. Not the one who waits, not the one who dreams, the one who does every day, no matter what. Because doing the hard things your old self avoided is how you stop being a prisoner of your past and start becoming the leader of your future. You know what needs to change. You know what needs to be faced. You don't need more information. You don't need more advice. You need to do the thing. The one you've been avoiding. The one that makes your stomach turn. The one that feels too big, or too uncomfortable, or too out of reach. That's the one. That's your next step. And once you do that, once you commit to showing up in the face of resistance, you'll see something incredible happen. You'll feel alive again. You'll start to believe in yourself again. You'll begin to realize that you're stronger than you thought because you did what your old self couldn't. You broke the pattern. You moved forward. You became the kind of person who doesn't just wish for a better life. They build it one hard decision at a time. Chapter 7. Stop pretending you're okay when you're not. You don't have to act like everything is fine when it's not. That's one of the most painful habits people carry. Pretending they're okay while slowly falling apart inside. Smiling when they feel numb. Saying, "I'm good," when their mind is a mess. Nodding through conversations they don't even want to be in. Day after day, they wear a mask that hides what they're really going through. And over time, that mask gets heavier. The silence grows louder. The pressure builds until something finally breaks, and it never had to reach that point in the first place. We live in a world that rewards strength and punishes vulnerability. People are told to stay strong, stay quiet, stay in control, don't be a burden, don't show weakness, don't say what you're really feeling. But real strength isn't about bottling things up. It's about telling the truth, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it risks being misunderstood. Because the longer you pretend you're okay, the more disconnected you become from your own life. You don't get better by faking it. You get better by being honest with yourself first, then with the people who've earned the right to hear your truth. There's no healing in denial. There's no growth in silence. Every time you say, "I'm fine," when you're not, you're sending a message to yourself that your pain doesn't matter, that your well-being isn't important, that your truth needs to be hidden, and that's a lie you can't afford to keep telling. You can't build a strong future on a foundation of emotional dishonesty. The pressure to keep it all together eventually becomes too much. You start feeling tired all the time. You lose interest in the things you used to enjoy. You distance yourself from people who actually care. And even when things look fine on the outside, inside you feel empty. That's what happens when you avoid what needs to be felt, what needs to be said, what needs to be faced. You are allowed to not be okay. You are allowed to struggle. You are allowed to feel lost, overwhelmed, angry, or broken. These are not flaws. These are human experiences, and denying them doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you feel alone. You don't owe anyone a perfect version of yourself. You don't have to show up every day acting like nothing's wrong when something clearly is. You have nothing to prove by pretending your emotions don't exist. Start telling the truth. Not for attention, not for sympathy, but for freedom. Because the moment you start being honest with yourself is the moment things start to shift. That's when healing begins. That's when change becomes possible. When you stop hiding and start addressing what's really going on. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's heartbreak. Maybe it's years of ignoring your needs. Whatever it is, it can't be fixed until it's faced. Stop trying to convince everyone around you that you've got it all figured out. It's okay to admit you don't. It's okay to say you need time. It's okay to say, "I'm not in a good place right now." That doesn't make you weak. That makes you honest. And honesty is where clarity lives. Honesty is where progress starts. When you stop pretending, you give yourself permission to actually start working through the pain instead of hiding behind the performance. You'll never find peace while lying to yourself. You'll never feel stable while constantly suppressing what needs to be released. Emotions don't disappear because you ignore them. They just find new ways to come out through stress, through anxiety, through fatigue, through anger. If you don't talk about it, your body will. If you don't face it, your mind will remind you every day until you do. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't need all the answers, but you do need to stop lying about where you are. You need to stop forcing smiles when your heart feels heavy. You need to stop telling people you're okay just so you don't make them uncomfortable. You need to stop protecting everyone else at the cost of your own well-being. You matter, too. Your needs matter. Your truth matters. And maybe not everyone deserves access to what you're feeling. That's fair. But you owe it to yourself to at least acknowledge it, to stop burying it under distractions, to stop numbing it with busyness, to sit with it and say, "This is where I'm at right now, and I'm ready to do something about it." That's courage. That's self-respect. That's the first step toward building a life that actually feels good to live. The longer you pretend, the further you drift from the life you deserve. Not because you don't have potential, but because potential can't survive in denial. You can't fix what you won't face. You can't grow from what you won't name. And you can't move forward if you keep telling yourself that standing still is progress. Be real. Be raw. Be clear. Say it out loud. Write it down. Admit to yourself that you're tired of hiding. That doesn't make you broken. That makes you human. And being human means having limits. It means needing space to process. It means needing help sometimes. And there's no shame in that. The shame is in pretending everything's fine. While you slowly fall apart, the strength is in saying, I need to take care of myself now. You don't owe anyone an explanation for putting yourself first. You don't have to keep showing up for others while neglecting your own needs. You can take a break. You can ask for support. You can say no. You can cry. You can be silent. You can do whatever it takes to protect your mental health. And if anyone makes you feel weak for doing that, they don't understand what real strength looks like. You've spent enough time pretending. Now it's time to get real. Real with yourself. Real with your life. Real with how much weight you've been carrying. And real about the fact that pretending never helped you. It only delayed the process. This is your time to stop hiding. This is your moment to start healing. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. That's enough. Because the strongest people you know, the ones who seem steady, clear, grounded, they didn't get that way by ignoring their pain. They faced it. They talked about it. They sat in the dark until they found light. And now it's your turn. Not to be like anyone else, but to come back to yourself, to drop the act, to breathe for real again. To finally say, I'm not okay right now. And that's okay. You'll be surprised what happens when you stop pretending. People who care will show up. Energy you lost will return. Peace you forgot existed will slowly come back. Because when you stop lying to yourself, everything else starts to align. That's when life starts to feel honest. That's when you begin to feel free. Not because everything's fixed, but because you finally stopped hiding from what needs your attention most. This is your permission to stop pretending. This is your chance to be real, to be seen, to be human. And in that honesty, you'll find everything you've been looking for. Clarity, healing, progress, and peace. You're not meant to carry it alone, and you're not meant to fake your way through life. Speak the truth, live the truth, and let the healing begin. Chapter 8. Act like your future depends on today's choices. Every single day you are building your future, whether you see it or not. The direction your life takes doesn't come down to one big moment or one lucky break. It comes down to what you decide to do today, not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel more ready. Right now, the future is not something that happens to you. It's something you are shaping every time you make a choice. Every thought, every habit, every decision you make today creates the path you'll walk on tomorrow. And if you want a future that looks different than your past, then you need to act like your future depends on what you do right now, because it does. Most people wait for some kind of sign. They wait for motivation. They wait for better timing. But the truth is, nothing changes until you take responsibility for the small things you keep putting off. You don't drift into a better life. You build it one honest day at a time. And building something real starts with showing up. Showing up when you don't feel like it. Showing up when no one is watching. Showing up with purpose in the smallest moments. You're not going to suddenly wake up one day with the life you want. That life is being built with your current actions. If you keep wasting your time, you're wasting your future. If you keep choosing comfort, you're delaying progress. If you keep ignoring your responsibilities, you're falling behind. Your goals are not waiting for you. Life keeps moving, whether you do something with it or not. And every time you say, I'll do it later, you're placing your future in the hands of delay and indecision. You've got to wake up every day with the understanding that your actions today will show up in your results later. If you choose focus, you'll build momentum. If you choose excuses, you'll stay stuck. If you make disciplined decisions, you'll gain clarity. If you take shortcuts, you'll feel the weight of regret. You can't complain about where you are while refusing to change what you do. If you want better results, you need better daily choices. Not once in a while. Not just when you feel inspired, but daily. This is where most people lose. They want big results from average effort. They want the rewards without the sacrifice. But life doesn't work that way. You don't get to skip the struggle and still collect the growth. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with hard choices. Choices that push you, choices that stretch you, choices that require you to act differently than your old self ever did. And it starts by asking yourself, if my future depended entirely on how I live today, would I still make the same choices? If the answer is no, then it's time to get serious, not dramatic, just clear. Clear about what matters, clear about what you want, clear about what you need to stop doing, because clarity brings power. When you know what you're aiming for, it becomes easier to say no to what wastes your time. It becomes easier to get up early, stay disciplined, keep going. And even when it's hard, you remind yourself this effort matters. This discipline matters. This is the cost of the life I want. Your future is not shaped by chance. It's shaped by direction. And direction is a choice. Not just once, but over and over again. You don't just make a good decision and expect everything to fall into place. You keep making those decisions every day. You repeat them until they become part of who you are, until your standards rise and your old habits no longer fit the person you're becoming. There are two types of pain in life: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline hurts now. Regret hurts later. And if you keep avoiding the work today, you'll carry regret tomorrow. You'll look back and wish you had done more with your time. You'll wish you had been more consistent. You'll wish you had taken the small steps more seriously. But you don't have to live with that regret. You can start now. You can make today count. You can treat your time like it's worth something, because it is. You're not stuck. You're just distracted. You're not unmotivated. You're just not connected deeply enough to your vision. You're not behind. You just haven't been honest with how you've been spending your days. And once you start acting like your future is built today, everything starts to shift. You stop waiting. You stop hesitating. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building real structure. Start with your time. Look at your day like a resource. Where is your energy going? What are you saying yes to that you should be saying no to? What habits are you repeating that are costing you more than you realize? Most people don't lose because of one huge mistake. They lose because they waste their time a little bit every day. And eventually, that waste turns into years. Years of doing things that led nowhere. Years of potential left unused. You don't need to be one of those people. You can stop the pattern now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. You just need to start treating each day like it matters, because it does. You don't know how much time you have, but you know what you can do with the time you've got. You can choose to be disciplined. You can choose to follow through. You can choose to put effort into the goals that matter most to you, not next month, today. And you don't need everyone else to understand this is your life. You're the one who has to live with the results. You're the one who has to feel the outcome of your action. So don't make decisions based on comfort. Make decisions based on who you want to be. Ask yourself every morning, what would the best version of me do today? Then do that even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. When you live like your future depends on your current effort, you stop making excuses. You stop wasting time on things that don't build you. You stop letting other people's opinions dictate your priorities. You stay focused on the task. You stay grounded in the process. And slowly, you become the kind of person who builds a life they don't want to escape from. That's not just about goals. It's about becoming. Becoming someone who shows up. Becoming someone who keeps promises to themselves. Becoming someone who doesn't need permission to live with purpose. That's how real progress happens. That's how confidence grows. You do the work quietly, repeatedly. On the days when you feel inspired, and on the days when you don't, every time you choose effort over excuses, you're telling your future self, "I've got your back." Every time you show up instead of scroll, you're casting a vote for the life you say you want. And if you do that long enough, the results start showing. The clarity increases. The distractions fade, and your life begins to look like the one you used to dream about because you finally started building it for real. You don't need a new plan. You need to follow through on the plan you already made. You need to stop negotiating with your discipline. You need to stop wasting time waiting to feel ready. Nobody feels ready. The people who succeed just decide to move anyway. They don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. They start where they are with what they have, and they make it work. That's what you have to do now. You don't need more advice. You need more action. You need more consistency. You need more commitment to the person you say you want to become. So, treat your day like it matters. Treat your habits like they're building something important, because they are. Your future is not just something that happens to you. It's something you are creating through every single choice you make. And if you act like it depends on today, then today becomes the most powerful tool you have. Not someday, not eventually, today. That's where everything begins. That's where your new life takes shape. And that's the only place where real transformation happens. Chapter 9. Keep pushing. When your mind tells you stop, there will be a point in your journey where your mind starts telling you to stop. Not because you're at the finish line, but because it's uncomfortable. It will tell you that you've done enough, that you need rest, that progress can wait. It will remind you of every failure, every past mistake, every reason why continuing forward might be a waste. And in that moment, you'll have a choice to make. Give in to the resistance and return to what's familiar. Or keep pushing because you know deep down this is the moment that matters most. Your mind is wired to protect you. It's designed to keep you safe, to keep things manageable. It wants to avoid pain. But the problem is, growth always lives just beyond what's comfortable. Progress is earned through struggle, through moments where everything inside you says, "Stop," and you choose to keep going anyway. That choice made again and again is what builds real change. Not one big action, not one burst of motivation. It's the decision to keep showing up when everything in your head is screaming at you to quit. You'll never meet a disciplined person who hasn't had to fight through those moments. People who succeed aren't built differently than you. They've just trained themselves not to listen to that voice that always wants the easy way out. They've learned that the mind will try to quit long before the body has. And when you get used to pushing past that barrier, you start to build something far more valuable than comfort. You build mental strength. Mental strength is not something you're born with. It's earned. It's built in the moments when you keep working despite the doubt. When you show up without feeling inspired. When you hold the line on your standards, even when no one's watching. It doesn't grow during easy days. It grows in the exact moment you want to give up, but choose not to. That's where self-rust is born. That's where you become someone who doesn't just say they're committed, but actually lives like it. Every time you stop when your mind tells you to, you teach yourself to break under pressure. You make quitting easier the next time. But when you push through, you teach your mind that it doesn't run the show. You prove to yourself that effort isn't based on feeling, it's based on commitment. The goal is still the goal. no matter how tired, frustrated, or uncertain you feel in the moment. And that attitude, when practiced daily, begins to shift your entire life. It doesn't mean you never rest. It doesn't mean you ignore what your body needs. It means you stop using discomfort as an excuse. You stop quitting every time it gets tough. You stop believing that just because something feels hard, it must not be right. The truth is, anything worth building is going to stretch you. It's going to test your patience. It's going to demand more from you than your past self was willing to give. You don't become unstoppable by avoiding struggle. You become unstoppable by learning to keep going, even when the doubt creeps in. The pain will try to convince you to ease up. The fear will try to convince you to back down. But those feelings are temporary. What they lead to, if you stop, is a lasting sense of regret. You look back and realize you had more to give. You just didn't. You owe it to yourself to find out what's on the other side of hard. You owe it to your future to see what happens when you don't give up early. It's easy to push when you feel motivated. It's easy to work when everything's flowing, but the breakthrough never happens during easy moments. It shows up when you're right on the edge, when you're ready to quit, and you go one more round. Progress doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like struggle. Sometimes it feels like exhaustion. Sometimes it feels like you're not moving at all. But as long as you're showing up and giving what you can, you're moving forward. You may not see it immediately, but you are growing, you are getting stronger, and most importantly, you're learning how to lead yourself. That's what matters most. Not how fast you go, but how consistent you are in showing up when it's hard. When your mind says stop, listen closely. That's the signal that you're on the edge of growth. That's the exact place where most people quit. That's the moment that defines who you become. Are you going to fall back into old habits? Or are you going to prove to yourself that this time is different? Are you going to back off because it's tough? Or are you going to show up anyway and keep doing the work? Every person who's built something meaningful has had that conversation with themselves. Every athlete, every entrepreneur, every artist, every leader. They've all had moments where the mind tried to convince them to give up. But the ones who win are the ones who push back, the ones who stay in it, the ones who know that doubt is a signal, not a command. It's not about ignoring your limits, it's about expanding them. It's about realizing that your mind will try to stop you before you even get close to what you're capable of. And if you stop there, you'll never know your full potential. But if you keep pushing, if you stay with the discomfort long enough, you'll start to notice something shift. The pain becomes manageable. The noise in your head gets quieter. The pressure turns into progress. And suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes part of your new standard. This is where the gap is between the person who wishes and the person who builds, between the person who talks about change and the one who actually lives it. It's in that exact moment when your mind wants to quit and you decide not to. That's the difference maker. That's what sets people apart. Not talent, not luck, but the discipline to keep going even when it's tough. When you build that kind of discipline, everything changes. You stop needing motivation. You stop relying on perfect conditions. You stop waiting for the right time. You take the emotion out of it and focus on the action, because action is what moves you forward. Emotion might get you started, but action is what carries you through. You don't rise by doing what's easy. You rise by showing up on the days it's hardest. You rise by deciding that your feelings don't get to run your life anymore. That when the pressure hits, you don't back down. You double down. You push through the voice that says stop. You get through the hour that feels too long. You finish the set, the call, the project, the task. And when you're done, you'll know something most people never do. You'll know you can count on yourself. You can't fake that kind of confidence. It only comes from doing the work when you didn't want to. It only shows up after the resistance. It only grows when you choose discipline over doubt. And once you have it, everything changes. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop quitting early. You stop being the kind of person who needs everything to feel right before you take action. So when your mind tells you to stop, that's your signal to lean in. That's your chance to get stronger. That's the moment you build what your old self couldn't. Don't give in. Don't slow down. Don't settle. Push. Even when it's slow. Even when it hurts. Even when no one's watching. That's how the next version of you is built. Not by waiting for the pressure to pass, but by stepping into it and proving you're not the same person who used to quit. You've grown. You've evolved. And now you finish what you start, no matter what. Chapter 10. Become someone your past self would respect. Think back to who you used to be. The version of you who was lost, unsure, full of questions, full of hopes, maybe even quietly desperate for a way out. That version of you needed someone to look up to, someone solid, someone steady, someone who didn't keep breaking promises. That version of you needed an example, not from the world, from you. And now you have the opportunity to become that person. Someone your past self would stop and say, "You did it. You actually became the kind of person I only dreamed of becoming." This isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about becoming the kind of person who shows up with integrity, who takes responsibility for their life without running from it, who builds structure in the places where chaos once ruled, who honors their time, who makes strong choices in private without needing attention or praise. The kind of person who walks away from excuses and lives by action. Your past self would be proud of someone who kept going, someone who didn't settle for survival, someone who stopped hiding behind fear, someone who finally got serious about growth, not just in words, but in behavior, someone who decided to become reliable, disciplined, emotionally stable, and focused. Not overnight, but through intentional daily effort. You know exactly what your past self went through. You know the disappointments, the missed chances, the bad habits, the wasted time. You know what it felt like to feel stuck, to wish things would change, to wonder if you were ever going to figure things out. You also know the habits that held you there, the distractions that pulled you off track, the comfort that turned into regret. And now here you are with the ability to change all of it. You owe it to your past to break the cycle. You owe it to that old version of you to stop pretending you can keep doing the same things and expect something new to appear. That version of you waited long enough. They held on, hoping the future would look different. That future is now, and what you do with it will decide whether they finally get peace or keep living in your shadow of wasted potential. The question is simple. Would the younger you respect the way you live right now? Would they be inspired by your habits? Would they be proud of your decision? Would they see someone who became stronger, wiser, sharper, more capable? Or would they see someone still making the same excuses, still avoiding the work, still living without direction? To become someone your past self would respect, you have to get honest about where you're still slipping, where you still choose comfort over character, where you still allow fear to drive your choices, where you still talk more than you act. Respect isn't earned through talk. It's earned through follow-through, through the quiet work done when no one's looking, through the moments where you hold the line, not because it's easy, but because it's right. This kind of transformation isn't flashy. It's slow. It's steady. It's built through thousands of little moments where you decide not to be who you used to be. When you get up instead of hitting SN. When you walk away from people who drain your focus. When you keep your word. When you stay calm in situations that used to set you off. When you take care of your health, your mind, your priorities, not once in a while, but consistent. You don't become someone worth respecting by avoiding pressure. You become that person by going through it and letting it shape you. You stay in the struggle long enough to grow from it. You stop blaming your past and start building something new with. You take the pain and turn it into purpose. You take the regret and turn it into reason. And you decide with full clarity that the life you live now is going to reflect the lessons you've already paid for. There's a kind of peace that only comes from knowing you've changed. Not because someone forced you, not because you had no choice, but because you finally made the decision to raise your standard. To stop being okay with average, to stop settling for cycles that don't serve you, to stop identifying with failure, chaos, and uncertainty, and instead choosing order, growth, and personal accountability. Think about how much your past self needed clarity, needed someone to say, "Here's what matters," someone who lived with consistency, someone who didn't collapse under pressure, someone who didn't spend every day running from reality, someone who embraced discipline not because it's easy, but because it brings peace. That's who you can be now, not by talking about it, but by showing it in how you carry yourself every day. It starts with small, repeatable steps. Waking up with purpose, sticking to your schedule, letting go of things that no longer serve your direction, replacing old behaviors with better ones, not all at once, but one by one. Rebuilding your focus, rebuilding your standard, choosing the long game over shortcuts, building your name with real actions, not noise. You don't get respect by avoiding hard truths. You get it by facing them. You get it by admitting where you've fallen short, then doing something about it. You get it by turning things around, not in a rush, but with steady progress. And every time you do the hard thing, every time you act with discipline instead of delay, you become the kind of person your past self would admire. Not just someone who made it, but someone who earned it. Someone who didn't compromise their values to gain attention. Someone who built a life through real work, not false image. Someone who took the same energy they used to waste and used it to build structure, momentum, and character. Someone who doesn't need to say much because their actions speak loud enough. That's the life you can create. Not one filled with drama or chaos, but one built on clarity and strength. One where you wake up knowing you're not that person anymore. You're no longer the one who gave up too early, the one who kept repeating the same mistakes. You're someone who outgrew all of that and built something stronger from it. There's something powerful about being able to say, "I've changed." And here's the proof. The proof is in your habit, in your mindset, in how you treat people, in how you treat yourself, in how you protect your time, in how you move with purpose instead of panic. That's how you become someone you can look back on with pride. Your past self deserves that. They deserve to see that all the confusion, the mistakes, the wasted time, none of it was the end. It was the beginning. And what you're doing now is honoring that beginning by choosing not to waste another moment, by refusing to let who you were become the limit of who you can be. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be real. You have to be consistent. You have to live in a way that makes you proud, not just when people are watching, but especially when they're not. That's the standard now. That's what it means to live with honor. That's what it means to respect your own journey. And every time you think about quitting, remember this. You're not just fighting for your future. You're fighting for the version of you who needed this, who wanted this, who didn't know how to get here, but held on anyway. Don't let them, Dad, become the person they needed. The one who didn't give up, the one who made it real, the one who took the pain and turned it into progress. You don't need more time. You don't need more chances. You need to take what you already have and use it with everything you've got. Starting now. Not next week. Not when life gets easier. Now. Right here. In the small choices. In the honest moments. in the discipline that no one else sees. That's where you build the life your past self dreamed of. And when you get there, it won't be about showing off. It'll be about knowing. Deep inside, you became exactly who you were meant to.